Hola gente, muy bienvenidos a un nuevo episodio de Historias que molestan. Espero que anden súper bien. Bueno, les cuento que hoy es el primer episodio en inglés. Nada, ténganme paciencia. No se rían de mí. No, bueno, está bien, si tienen permitido reírse. Pero como les estuve contando en Instagram, la verdad que me costó bastante hacerlo por una cuestión. Más que hacerlo, no. O sea, en el momento de estar hablando y todo bien, pero el momento de estar editándolo y escucharme, me pegaron todos los auto boicots, las voces negativas, sentirme que sí, que no estaba a la altura, que por qué estoy haciendo esto, que soy una ridícula, que qué horrible, que qué fracaso, que bueno, etcétera. Todo junto. Pero bueno, el trascenderlo, digamos, mi aprendizaje de todos estos años ha sido trascender eso y hacerlo igual. O sea, no es. O sea, obviamente que antes mis voces negativas eran peores y aparte empezaban y no las podía frenar y ahora es como que apenas empiezan, es como, bueno, basta, no, eso no es verdad. Y todo el trabajo de autoconocimiento. Pero bueno, sepan que igual obviamente me costó mucho esto el tema sí, de editarlo y estar publicándolo. O sea, si lo están escuchando es porque finalmente no dudo de mí, no dudo de que lo voy a publicar, pero no, nada está dicho hasta último momento. O sea, que si están escuchando esto es porque he vencido mi auto boicot una vez más y lo tienen acá. Más que nada porque siento que abre las puertas a un montón de historias que está buena escuchar también. En este caso sí, igual hablé con una chica que bueno, ella es de Filipinas. Geleen Antonio nació en Filipinas, pero se fue como inmigrante a Estados Unidos cuando era chica y ahí creció hasta que, bueno, dejó todo y se fue a viajar. Si bien ella es eso, o sea, habla inglés como nativa básicamente, mi idea con empezar a hacer podcast en inglés también es poder llegar bueno, gente de otros países que la lengua en común al final es en inglés, por lo menos por ahora. Así que nada, siento que era algo que tenía que hacer, tenía que romper esta barrera, lo vengo pensando hace meses y obviamente no me animaba y lo estaba haciendo de a poco. Y dije, bueno, me voy a tirar el lance a contactar a alguien en inglés, en el fondo rogando que no me respondieran, no me digan que no. Así no me tenía que hacer cargo de la situación, obviamente. Pero me dijeron que sí, así que no me quedó otra que organizar la reunión y bueno, y grabar el episodio. Y durante el episodio la pasé espectacular porque aparte me encanta estar hablando en inglés, estar hablando con gente de otra cultura, o sea, tenía muchas ganas de hacerlo, la verdad, y la pasé súper bien. Pero bueno, obviamente después escucharme me deja mucho que desear, sobre todo porque no hablo en inglés desde diciembre. Estuve acá viviendo en Argentina desde diciembre, por lo cual estaba hiperoxidada, o sea, me costó un montón. Pero bueno, nada, sé que van a sacar un montón de ideas y conclusiones de este episodio, porque la verdad que Geleen tiene una forma de comunicarse que es hermosa y tiene un proyecto que está súper lindo. Y más que nada me divirtió mucho porque ella, bueno, obviamente dejó todo, se fue a viajar y adivinen cuál fue el país al que llegó y dijo, ah, no, yo de acá no me quiero ir. Y se terminó quedando 6 meses y después volvió otra vez a lo yo con Corea del Sur. Bueno, a ella le pasó con Buenos Aires, o sea, imagínense. Así que estuvo buenísimo tener del otro lado a alguien que flasheara lo que yo flasheo con otros países, que ella lo flasheara con Argentina. O sea, me pareció nada, hermoso y que estuvo muy bueno poder compartirlo. Así que bueno, las dejo con el episodio y espero que lo disfruten tanto como yo y ténganme paciencia con el inglés. Thank you so much for coming to my podcast. I'm really excited to have you here, especially because you are my first English speaker. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm really honored, well, to be here for one, and also for being your first English speaker. I'll try not to talk too fast. I have a tendency to ramble, but thank you so much. I really appreciate this, and I'm so excited to meet you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I know my audience will appreciate it. I know that they are eager to keep learning English for traveling, so I think this is perfect. But to begin with, I would love you to introduce yourself to the people
Yes.
hearing.
Yeah, so I am also a solo female traveler. I've been traveling on my own for around 10 years now, but full time as a digital nomad for the last 3 years. So I've made this my lifestyle now. So I was actually born in the Philippines and I came to the US at a really young age. So I grew up in the US, and during the pandemic was when I really decided, like I think similar to you, to take the leap and just travel full time. And I love this lifestyle so much. It's great. So much so that I was working a corporate job in consulting and in tech. And actually, just this last half a year, I quit that career and I'm starting my own business now, specifically to help other women to also take leaps in their life, transform their life through solo travel, make deeper connections with people all over the world. So I'm really passionate about this topic of solo travel. And I think more women should feel comfortable and empowered to be able to do it.
Oh my God, I love it. I didn't know you were from the Philippines. That's so cool.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so many questions already. But first, I wanted to ask you, so we can mix it,
Yeah.
because I saw a reel you uploaded about, like, you filmed your last day on your Chicago apartment.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, but at every single 10 seconds, there was something that I wanted to ask you for real, because I felt so moved with some things, especially with something that I think everybody listening will feel also. When you said about the guilt of living your life, you feel guilty. What? Why?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna tear up just thinking about it.
Oh,
But I had a really good life by all the standards of our normal society, right? The society that says you should grow up and get a good job and be successful in the corporate world and have an apartment in the city and have the group of friends. Like everything was good. But there was still something missing in me. And I knew that if I didn't take the risk and make a big change, I was always going to feel like something was missing in me. And so I was guilty because I think like I was really grateful for the life that I had because I know that it's a life that a lot of people would love to have, but it was still not what I wanted. And I think that realizing that and being okay with it was such a big step for me because I felt like guilty for wanting more, but it's okay to want more. And I think that's been a process for me to learn is that it's okay. You can want more, you can want difference. And as long as it feels good for you, that you're the only person that you should be really paying attention to.
and how was it for your family and your friends when you decided to do this?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I've been solo traveling for a while now. I had studied abroad when I was 20 in Rome, so that was the big leap, and that was when my mom was like, "What? What do you mean you're gonna go by yourself to Rome? You're 20 years old." But then, I've slowly been getting her used to it. So by the time I was traveling more consistently on my own, every trip she still says, but be careful. You text me
Yeah.
wherever you go, as a mom does. But she's gotten a lot used to it now. I think the decade plus of traveling has worn her down. And surprisingly, everyone's been just so supportive. And I think that's the thing that I didn't realize as much is that when I was growing up, it was very much like a strict, like immigrant, like mentality of be successful the traditional way, like travel was never on the table. We couldn't afford it. It wasn't even something that we did. And it was always get a good job, get straight A's, like, take care of yourself, take care of us. So it was interesting, I think, that when I finally got the courage to make these big changes in my life, my mom was like, oh, go for it. Yeah, life is short. And a part of me was like,
Wow.
who's this woman? This woman who was on me to get straight A's, and now she's like, yeah, why not try it? So I found that when you're confident in what you're going to do, and you're like, yes, I'm gonna do it no matter what, people feel that, and they have no choice almost but to support you, or the people that are going to stay in your life that are meaningful to you will support you.
That's a big point. I think that you just made it. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I can, now that you say this, and I'm, when we see it on movies, the stereotype of the United States of being like really corporate and after money. And is it really like this?
Yeah, it is.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Well, that's the beauty of it, but also the thing that you need to take a break from, because work-life balance isn't quite balanced in the US. Everyone around you has that, like, they strive to succeed and strive for more, and want to climb that corporate ladder, and you're caught up in it because all of your friends are getting promotions. Everyone around you, your company is constantly asking you, what else do you want to do within the company, when do you want that promotion? And so you get stuck in this path, and until you make a massive change, you can just continue down the same path, not even realizing that you're not happy, maybe, so I think a lot of like US culture is centered around work.
Yeah, like you don't have time to really think what you really
Mhm.
want, actually, because the path is like already made for you. No,
Yeah, it
something like this.
is. It's like there's steps, you do what you need to get to the promotion, and then you get the promotion or you get the bonuses, and there's always something that you can't quit for, because then, over a few months you get this or that, or then you're going to get a different role and prestige or whatever it might be that you're searching for. But if you want to go down that road, do it willingly, I think, is the thing. Like, if that's what you want to do and that's what fulfills you, go for it, but don't do it blindly because you feel like you need to continue.
Yeah, or like escaping or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's hard, I think, to live a life that is actually good, than just, when your life is miserable and you have nothing to lose, then you just take any chance you can. But when you're actually having a good life, it's like, why am I living this? But I think that this guilty thing is really from a women perspective. I think just men just do things and don't think about it. But we are all the time like, just oh, why? And yeah, I'm so ungrateful. Why I'm living this? And so many people want. So I get you. And the second thing that I was that I when I saw your reel, that you were telling your future self,
Yeah.
like you don't know what you want to do, but hopefully you will figure it out, and you've done it, right? Is this you're finding your path?
Yeah, I'm still like fine tuning all of the details, but I feel like I can solidly say that this is my purpose, this is my path. I want to help other women, and I want to make that impact on other people's lives, to gain more freedom, or at least be able to feel like you're in control of your own destiny. And yeah, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever that was, I was so lost. I was in that corporate race. I had just ended a relationship again that was good, but not what I wanted or what I needed in my life. And so
Mm.
I gave up so much, and I didn't know what I would get. I just knew that I needed to let it go first before I could even welcome anything new in my life.
Yeah,
And that's
like
pretty
you really need to make a space. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
um
so underrated, the space. Like, people kept telling me that. Like, my therapist, my coaches, they're like, "You got to clear the space." And I was like, "For what?" Like, what? Just to be empty? And you have this fear almost of like, if I clear it, then I'll have nothing. But then there's actually beauty in the space, than in the nothing, because then it gives you that freedom and independence to completely create and design your life the way that feels good for you. So whenever I now bring something into my life, I have to ask myself, like, is this actually something I want? Versus before, it was living this life that I thought I wanted based off of society and family and friends.
yes. Ah, I love it. I love how you think.
Yeah.
So let's talk, because this is the reason why actually I want you here, because you have these projects about Bubbles and Twirls, and I want you to tell people about it, and then I will ask you some questions. When did you
Yeah.
come up with the idea?
Honestly, just a few months ago. So it's a very new idea. And I had this epiphany when I was in Buenos Aires. This was the second time I was in Buenos Aires. And I realized I was on a walk and um, I don't even know what I was thinking of, but I was going to meet up with a friend and we were going to go for a walk in the park. And I started having these ideas of like the funnest times. I've been meeting people all over the world since I've been traveling, but the people that have become very meaningful friends to me, really deep connections, and I know that they'll be, in my life forever. Um, I've been able to get deeper connections with them because of doing childhood activities. And like, for example, when I first started kind of traveling as a nomad internationally, I was in Puerto Vallarta. And there was a lot of people that I was meeting, but the ones where like I still have very fond memories was when I would ask a few friends, like, do you want to go grab dessert and we'll have a picnic on the beach? And just eat dessert, play ukulele, and then we even were like twirling around the beach into the ocean. And it's like such a simple thing, right? So instead of going to like the bars or to restaurants or doing something like more, I guess, adult like, we were eating cake on the beach and twirling, and it was so like it's still one of my favorite memories. um, and then when I was in Playa del Carmen, actually my therapist had told me to find some bubbles. She was like, you got a lot of childhood trauma you got to work through, and bubbles will help you with that. And so she's like, but if you find bubbles, just go out and blow them. It took me 3 months to find bubbles. And that was when I was like, man, maybe I'm not ready to let things go. Why is it so hard to find bubbles in this city? I was like going to every store, every child was like, do you know where to get bubbles? I finally found it 3 months later, and it was really magical. I had met some friends there, and they sat with me in the little plaza blowing bubbles with me and like twirling around in the bubbles. And again, it was like a really fun time. And so this is kind of where the idea started to come up for me of, okay, these childhood activities, these just like very innocent, playful, like you're just laughing and having fun because it's, so silly. You become more vulnerable that way. And then you have like just a really beautiful memory with these people, and you're in a space where you can feel comfortable to share more. And so kind of thinking about doing this as I'm traveling, I came back to Buenos Aires, and I had this idea of creating a book with all of the activities that I do around the world with people, like eat cake on the beach and twirl, or blow bubbles in the plaza, to create the sense of community wherever I go, and then help other people also form these deep connections that I've been able to make with people. And so in Buenos Aires, I was fortunate enough to be able to organize a relay race. So it was a full day, and like 80 people showed up to it, which was insane. And it was a childhood food picnic. So any type of food that you kind of hold dear to your heart from when you were a kid. And it was also a relay race, so we were doing hot potato. We were like had everyone hold hands and twist themselves into a knot, and like race with like almost like a three-legged race, or with a little spoon and the egg. And it was so much fun. And everyone afterwards, like, it was interesting. I almost there was a WhatsApp message after, and people were like wanting to like get information on the boy that they might have met during the relay race.
Ooh.
There was some love making, or not love making, love match.
Okay.
Love matches going.
You go straight from childhood to adulthood, like one way road.
But yeah, so I think it kind of reminded me that, yeah, it is these types of activities where you feel vulnerable, you feel silly, you're out of your element, and everyone is also out of their element. So it puts you in a good place to start a good connection with someone. So
Yeah.
that's the idea of Bubbles and Twirls. So
The-
it's going to be it'll be a book of all the activities, one per week, so 52 different activities, and it'll also have space for you to write down how you felt about the activity. Like, did you like it? Would you do it again? Did you do it by yourself, or did you meet someone new while you were doing it? So kind of fostering those deeper connections as you go.
Oh my God, I love it. And I love that you made it in Buenos Aires. And so many people, because of course, we are
Yes,
like
I know.
this, you
Argentinians show up. I love it.
know.
Hola, estás escuchando Historias que molestan, un podcast que te acerca al detrás de escena de las personas que la rompen para que veas que detrás de cada logro hubo una decisión. Recordarte obviamente que en Instagram, TikTok y en mi blog tenés un montón de información útil, pero sobre todo unos posteos muy motivadores para que vos también te llenes de energía y puedas salir a recorrer el mundo y me encontrás como Titin Round the World. Te dejo con el episodio.
I saw something with everything you said, but I read it also on your Instagram that you said that adulthood is overrated, and I'm 100% with you. I think if we took life less seriously, things would be so much better. I mean, of course, it's all fun, but connecting yourself again with your inner child is life changing, and I think to really know what you really want from life, or at least just say sorry for whatever happened to you, but like you have to connect to your inner child. I think it's
And it's so important because, when you were a child, there were all these things that you were naturally drawn to, whether that was like art or science or things that made you happy. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I actually used to collect rocks, and I remember very much I used to love bubbles. And now I collect crystals because that's the adult version, and I still love bubbles. But there's a lot of things that you can find by going back into that childhood version of yourself before all the influences, before all the this is what you should be doing in life. Like, go back to that authentic version of you and see, what made you happy at that point, and are there ways that you can bring those things of happiness from childhood back into your adult life? Because I think that not a lot of people do that.
yeah, and I think while traveling is easier, at least I say from my point of view, that when I started traveling, I could be the real me. I was not scared, I was not embarrassed, because sometimes I don't know, I feel like right now, because I'm 35 and I don't care about anything anymore. But when I started traveling, like I was 24, 25, and while I was living in Argentina, I have become this person, like a bit more, serious, because I thought that was what was expected from me. So then when I started traveling, I started to try everything, and I didn't care about failing or being ridiculous or whatever, because no one knew me. Like, I don't have any pressure, and I think that if you do this while traveling, then it will be easier. But I think that the main idea is that you can bring this home too.
Yeah, and that's actually the thing that I want to focus on as well in my work. I'm starting a podcast called Travel Not to Escape, and it's
Ooh.
specifically because, like, there's this concept of, oh, I love this version of me as I travel. I make friends, I see new things, I'm so artsy, I go to museums, right? And then you come back home and you work 8 hours at least per day. You watch TV, you maybe see your friends once a month, and then you do that over and over again until your next vacation. And it's like, how do you combine those two versions of yourself, so you're not just escaping your real life, and then while you're traveling, you're doing so much back to back that you're not really taking in those lessons. You're just experiencing it in a bubble, and then coming back to your real life and hating your real life even more because you experienced
Exactly.
the good thing. And I think that there's a way to be able to, combine those two versions of yourself. So you're the one happy person that, if you're traveling and you love going to cafes and you love, just people watching while you're at a cafe, do that at home. Spend some time in the morning to find a new coffee shop and be able to, journal and people watch while you're there. Like, what are the things you can bring back with you? And I think that, like, I'm not saying everyone has to be like a full-time traveler. I think there's lessons you learn and you can pull into your life that are really important.
Yeah, it's like a kind of an attitude, no matter what you do or the lifestyle that you have, what you can bring and be 100% yourself. Because you are the only person who knows what you really want, actually. No one knows better than yourself. Um,
Exactly.
and I wanted to ask you, of course, because this is the first time that I'm talking with a digital nomad that actually was doing that in Argentina. Because
Yeah.
usually when I'm traveling, like I'm going somewhere, but I
Yeah.
never. So how was the experience? Why you came to Argentina in the first place? Why?
Okay, it's so random. So I was actually supposed to be in Madrid and Lisbon for New Year's. This was New
Uh-huh.
Year's going into 2022, and I had my flight booked. I had my Airbnbs booked. I was going to go spend New Year's there, and then COVID locked everything down again. And so I had 2 days to figure out because I was at my parents in California at this time, and I can only really spend like 4 days maximum with them before I go a little crazy.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, we're hitting up that point where I gotta leave. I gotta go somewhere. I can't go to Europe. Otherwise, I have to take a test to go to a restaurant. And it was just, I don't even know how to speak Portuguese. So I looked on Airbnb and I just kept going and zooming in on the map. I put in my filters and I was like, maybe this city, maybe that one. And I ended up in Buenos Aires because I found an apartment that had a gorgeous rooftop and a pool. And I was like, man, I don't know any single person in Buenos Aires, like zero. This is gonna be a city like like a new experience for me because I knew absolutely no one. It had been a while since I've gone somewhere completely alone. And I was like, at the very least, I flew in on New Year's Eve. So I told myself, okay, I have a bath bomb and I can take a bath in this gorgeous apartment, and that'll be how I spend my New Year. But I'm going to challenge myself to see if I can make a friend and spend New Year's, you know, find people to spend New Year's with. And I think I landed in the afternoon, so I had like 6 hours to see like what my night was going to be. And it's so weird because I had already been on the dating apps. So within like an hour of getting into my apartment, I went on a date. Okay, we're here. And then an hour
Wait,
after that,
with an Argentinian.
no, okay, so he's an American that was from Argentina, and so he has like Argentinian family that he was
Oh,
spending
okay.
holidays with, but he's American. Um, but yeah, went on a date with him, and then after that, I was like, okay, well, I already met someone new that crossed off my list. Maybe I'll just have a low key night. And then I was on some WhatsApp groups, and a girl was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to this event," and she lived near my apartment. So I was like, "Okay, sure." So I met her on the corner. That's like never met her before. Met her on the corner, and then we ended up spending New Year's in this like 30-person table in Plaza Serrano in Palermo, Soho.
Oh.
And we like rang the New Year's in with champagne, and it was a lot of fun. I ended up at a house party, and I think that was kind of what sold me on Buenos Aires. Was like, wow, like I really challenged myself here. I had the bath bomb waiting, like the night in waiting, but then I ended up just meeting such amazing people in the span of 6 hours. So Buenos Aires is great. I think it has a really great sense of community. There's a lot of like events, something's always going on, and I love that it's so rich culturally. So there's a lot of, theater, music, arts. There's always like festivals happening, and just it's lively and vibrant, and I am in love with the city.
I'm so happy. Yeah, because see, I used to live in Buenos Aires. I went to university in Buenos Aires, and I hated it. I hated
Really?
it because, yeah, I hate the noises. The people like the honking and it was so distressing. But then I left Argentina, and then I came back again after 2 years, and I was like, oh my God, this city is amazing because it's so many things to do. Really,
Yeah.
like I didn't realize that when I was living there because I was really stressed by work and university and everything. But then when I went back as a tourist, for say it in a
Mhm.
way, it was like, man, there is always something to do. And there's always like a WhatsApp group of people in this
Yeah.
neighborhood, or people learning a language, or people. So actually, it's a bit overwhelming because it's like, man, I don't have time to do everything that I
Yeah.
want because so many options. but I'm really happy that you spend time there, and also that you could do the bubble thing in there.
Yeah, I was happily surprised. So this was my second time around. I spent 6 months last year, and then I just
6 months in Buenos Aires.
Last year, yeah, 6 months. So after I landed there for New Year's, I was only going to be like for a month. I ended up staying 6 months. So clearly, I love the city. And then I came back this year for 3 more months. And I think honestly, it's probably a place where I'm going to keep coming back because it is just, it's a really special place for me. And I love that, I threw the idea out there like, hey, would you guys be open to a kids style relay race? I threw it into a WhatsApp group for sports people. So it was a lot of like usually like men who like to do rugby and football. And I was like, you guys want to do a 3-legged race? Maybe. But the guys were the ones that were like more into it than even the women. Like the women came and it was like amazing and fun. And but I expected that, like women are always coming to events and like open to meet and chat. But it was like surprising for me that like so many men had come also with that like open, vulnerable energy. And I think that was like a really cool thing to be able to see that interaction with the whole group.
That's so cool.
A ton of men blowing bubbles in a field. I thought that was, it's like, wow, like where am I right now? This is so cool.
I can imagine. Are you planning on coming back?
I am, yes. So I'm thinking probably in the summers of Buenos Aires, I'll be back. And I'm actually in Rio right now, so I'm not too far away.
Not too far away, yeah. Well, you have something with South America then.
Yeah, there's some. Well, I also have been studying Spanish for the last 3 years that I've been traveling just through Latin America. And once you learn the language and you work really, really hard to be able to speak it, part of you wants to keep using it, and so you don't lose it. So I was like, I worked real hard for this.
I deserve to stay here. But I saw, like, I suffer for you because I saw that you were also in Chile, and both Chile and Argentina, we have a lot of slang. So maybe you think you learn Spanish, but then you come here and you don't. Like the first time I heard Chilean people talking, I couldn't understand. I'm a native Spanish speaker, but I was like, what are they saying? Like I don't know any word. So I'm proud of you that you try to learn Spanish in Argentina. You're like, wow.
Yeah, it's so interesting. My Spanish teacher is Argentinian, so that's been cool. Like really helpful to pick up the slang and the pronunciation. But it's so interesting because in Chile, I actually made friends in Spanish. Like that was my biggest goal. Was I want to be able to speak Spanish well enough that I can make a friend only speaking Spanish. And it was cool because I made 2 friends in that 1 week span, and we only spoke in Spanish. And I was very proud of myself. Like, oh my God, we're actually talking about like deep things and connecting in a language that's, something that I learned recently. So I was like, okay. And Chilean Spanish is very different. So I was excited.
Good. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I wanted to ask you, why you decide or why you think it's important to encourage women to travel. Why is this your purpose now?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to kind of maybe the way that I grew up and like as an immigrant, didn't really know what options were available to me. And I think just larger than that, like women as a whole were always maybe pushed towards the direction of whether that's work and then having kids and having a family and living this one type of life. And I want women to know that you can do whatever you want in your life. If that is growing up and raising a family and having that life, that's beautiful. Like, yes, but there's also other options if that's not something that's calling you. So I want there to just be the availability of options for a woman, and not even the availability, but the confidence to be able to say, yes, I want that life. And there are other women that are having that life and they're succeeding and they're thriving and they're happy, and I can be that too. So I just want to be that like you, source of inspiration to let other women know the possibilities and like just feel empowered to take those possibilities for their own.
Oh, yeah, it's really, really necessary what you do. So I appreciate your work, and I think, yeah, women still. It's like, to me, when I travel and I meet other women, I feel like, oh yeah, everybody's empowered and everybody's taking their lives on, but that's my bubble. But because then I when I come back, I see again that there is so many women, like we said before, like feeling guilty about living their life or what they are supposed to do because what society says. And so I think we need more women to everybody that is traveling. I always tell, like, just share it. Like, you don't have to be, making really aesthetic reels or not. Just share your experience because people need to feel, reflected on you to what you do.
Yeah, no, I think that's a thing that I've been trying to focus on a little bit more is just having that raw, transparent look into the life, because you do see a lot of these inspirational aesthetic reels maybe on social media, and that's a big chunk of it. But the other like deeper, more meaningful part of the travel is that change within yourself that you start to see, and like you start to love your life and become this version of yourself that you've been looking for, and that's harder to make aesthetic. But I think that it's very important to show that like real raw journey for other women that might be afraid to.
Yeah, because when you see too aesthetic or too perfect or too, still feels like really far away or that is not for you. So that's why it's really necessary to be open and vulnerable and saying like, yeah, sometimes I cry like a baby when I'm traveling because I'm feeling like shit or something didn't work out as I expected, but that's life. It doesn't mean that because you are traveling, you will always be 100% okay or
Yeah.
always being in an aesthetic environment. And, it's not like that. Like, that's not life, but it still is something really worth living.
Yeah.
Geleen, I really, really appreciate you being here. It's been a pleasure, and I'm really happy that you love staying in Argentina. I know what it feels like to arrive to a country, and then I thinking like, I need to stay here. And then it happened to me in South Korea. I thought I was going there for 2 weeks. I stayed for a year. I was
Oh
like,
wow.
I can't leave this place.
Yeah,
I
we
love
fall
it.
in love
And
with the city.
yeah, but that's important to just follow what you feel. Because when you follow what you feel, it's like, you're doing the right thing. So,
Exactly.
okay. Thank you so much again for being here. And please, let us know where we find you.
Yes. So on Instagram is going to be the best. My personal travel account is at Geleen on the go. I can send that over to you. And then if you want to follow the Bubbles and Twirls journey, that's just at Bubbles and Twirls on Instagram. And I'll be releasing that journal soon. So you'll
Yeah,
be
that I
able
was waiting for the land. That would be amazing. And I think, yeah, I hope a lot of people go. If you do again your Bubbles and Tours in Buenos Aires, I
yes.
I think people should. Yeah, definitely. And if I'm here, of course, I will be going there
No,
too.
it's definitely, I'm going to be doing events, all the places that I travel, whether they're small or big. But yeah, stay tuned. It's a book plus actual event that you can go to. I'm
Thank you
excited.
so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bueno, gente, ¿qué onda? ¿Cómo les fue? ¿Pudieron escucharme hablar en inglés sin ponerse nerviosas? Espero que lo hayan disfrutado. A mí me encantó muchísimo hablar con Geleen. Me parece que su proyecto está buenísimo porque muchas veces vivimos creyéndonos que hay que ser serios por la vida y respetar ciertas cosas cuando en realidad, como dijo otra gran persona que estuvo en este podcast, y lo repito casi siempre, pero es que la vida dura 10 segundos y lo último que deberíamos estar haciendo es vivir bajo reglas que no tienen nada que ver con nuestros valores personales. Así que espero que hayan sacado mucha inspiración de ahí y también para conectar con cosas que quieran hacer ustedes, que al final lo que ustedes sientan que tienen que hacer, ese va a ser su proyecto y va a estar súper bien cualquier cosa que quieran hacer, porque las únicas personas que saben realmente qué necesitan para su vida son ustedes mismas. Así que Y si no lo saben y lo están buscando, me contactan a mí, que soy coach de eso, ¿ok? Soy coach de vida y me encanta desenredar esas cabezas, así que parecen que están perdidas, pero no están tan perdidas, sino que están absortas de cosas que hemos aprendido mientras crecíamos, sobre todo de la sociedad y los condicionamientos, así que si andan trabadas ya saben. También saben que me encanta estar entrevistando gente, así que si tienen más personas para recomendarme, más mujeres que estén viajando solas, que tengan proyectos copados y demás, me escriban y bueno, y si puedo, intento y contacto, y si me responden, grabaremos. Así que nada, les agradezco obviamente que estén del otro lado, y cualquier cosa me encuentran en Titi Around the World, tanto en Instagram como en TikTok y en YouTube. Y si me quieren mandar un mail, me encuentran en historiasquemolestan@gmail.com. Les mando un beso enorme y nos vemos en el próximo episodio, que probablemente sea esta semana, porque voy a empezar. Yo sé que amenacé un montón de veces con empezar a poner 2 episodios por semana. Creo que lo voy a lograr. Así que estén atentis. Abrazo grande.